takes 10 minutes. Just want to make sure. Can you guys hear me okay? We're good? No one's saying no. Okay, so want to go through a presentation here. I know there's been a lot of questions. We asked that people submitted their questions in advance. Many duplicate ones, so we have a Q&A at the end. I tried to tailor the presentation to address most of the questions. I also wanted to talk about heritage in general, what we're seeing out there and what we're doing about changing our company or adapting our company to the changing marketplace as we go along. First, I'd like to note there are 108, well, there was 108, we lost somebody, 107 participants at this year's AGM. That's fantastic. Maybe it's a factor of us being virtual. Last year, if you take out the employees of Heritage and our lawyer, we had a grand total of 0. So that's fantastic to see this many people coming and spending some time to learn more about Heritage and to hear what it is that we're doing. Up to 111 participants now, that's great. I have the person who's changing my slides is about 1,500 miles away from me, so I've got Dennis helping me out here, so I'll have to note to him every time I need to change a slide, so you'll notice that as we go. Dennis, you want to take us on to the next slide? All right, we're going to pause here. I'll give 10 minutes for everybody to read that. Totally kidding. Or just, this is basic. Hey guys, you're going to hear some stuff that's some forward-looking conversation, talking about what we're doing in the future and how Heritage is moving forward. It's your responsibility to understand that that is the best efforts under information going to you, and anything that might be inside information is noted and due to you to be aware of for trading. Next slide, please. Any of you who know our corporate presentation will realize that a few of these things will look the same to you. On an introduction slide, this is our current structure. We're anchored obviously by 2 licensed producers, Canacure out in Fort Erie, Ontario, and Voyage up in Falkland, BC. Voyage recently being awarded its sales license has completely changed the face of how we look at our own products now. Canacure, we're hoping will also be joining that same area here shortly, as we're moving towards full production in both facilities, being able to both market products. Obviously, with Pure Pharma joining our Heritage family about 1.5 years ago, that brought us extreme knowledge when it comes to extraction, and also changed and allowed us to pivot our company in what we focus towards. Out on the right-hand side, you talk about Bright Life Sciences and Endo DNA, both of them on our medical side. Dennis, please change slide. Oh, back one, Dennis. All right, we're highlighting a couple of them here. A few of them here. You see Canacure, Pure Pharma, and Bright Life. Reason that I've got them highlighted here, there's some of the stuff that's going to be coming here in the next 60 days or so, as Heritage takes a more bold position on how we view our medical and our branding, and moving towards offering our own products in the marketplace. Those 3 entities will be affected somewhat. So just asking you as we go forward to understand that we'll be identifying that here shortly. Next slide. Our long-term strategy, right now we're actively doing obviously the oil, the vape, and we have the IP, all of which works together to produce the vape pens that we're taking to market right now. Very shortly, coming soon, you're going to be seeing medical products and distribution joining the fold and what we're offering. I'll be talking about that a little later on, but as we move forward, this is what our next focus is. And then a little further down the road, will be focusing on the edibles and the beverage market. I get asked about that a lot. It is something that we're interested in. It is something that we will continue to take a good look at. However, we're not convinced that we've seen something that makes sense to us just yet. However, once that comes along and we see the market really picking up, it will be something that we move towards. Next slide. I'll talk specifically about Pure Pharma and our extracted products. This is very obviously the center of our strategy. It is the foundation of our future, and it is going to be what Heritage is as a background doing the extraction, as our formulated products take the foreground in what we're going to be offering into the market. The experts in CO2 extraction, which we're currently doing, the ethanol and the hydrocarbon extraction, will be coming shortly. There are plans in place. Everybody asks about New World Oil. There's a reason for that, because this stuff is fantastic, and I can't wait for it to hit the markets. Right now, thanks to COVID, it looks like it might push it out till early 2021, unfortunately for us, but still very much alive and still very much part of our future. Next slide. Just quickly review the last 12 months. I need to show kind of how things work. There seems to be some confusion about how the products come to marketplace and how it works here today. We're called a contract manufacturing operator right now. That means we do work on behalf of other people, not on behalf of ourselves and our own products. So in taking a look at that, what we do is we negotiate a price with an LP who is able to sell to the end market. So what we'll do is we'll negotiate that price. As part of it, Heritage or one of our LPs, be it Voyage or Canacure, manufactures this product. Obviously, there's margin requirements on our behalf. Everybody's in this to make money. On the LP, the selling LP, the product needs to be transferred over to them prior to going to the provincial cannabis boards. This could be done virtually. However, the LP that has contracted us to do the work also puts its margin on. Once the product hits the provincial cannabis board, it either sells it directly online with its own margin, or it sells it to a retail outlet, which then sells it to the consumer with their own margin. You'll notice something here that's going, it's a common theme here. Dennis, please change the slide. Yeah. Margin, margin, and margin. And when I say that there's margin, this isn't like 5 or 10% being added on by each one. We have a target margin range where we like to see a minimum of 30% going up from there. And selling LPs need to make the decision on what they're going to do to mark up their products before it goes to the provincial cannabis boards. Understanding that provincial cannabis boards use a percentage to mark it up. So the more that the LP marks their product up that we make for them, the higher that markup is going to be at the provincial cannabis boards. Percentage of margin begets percentage of margin begets percentage of margin. Next slide. And that's a problem. The reason why that's a problem is you have each taking their cut as this goes along. And because as this continues to move and the price continues to go up, you're going to have the consumer who ultimately is going to eat the end product price start looking for value. And value doesn't mean the cheapest, and nor does it mean the best quality. Value is a combination of quality to price. And we need to make sure that the end product that is going out and hitting that consumer, they're feeling like they're getting value. Next slide. The good news for us is the winds of change, they're happening. Next slide. Cannabis industry is always in a state of flux, or seems to have always been in a state of flux. What we're seeing is the market itself, the legal market, isn't growing at the rate that everyone had hoped it would when it first started getting talked about. The reason being, quite simply, is the price. Well, just two things, sorry. It's the availability of stores to go and buy this at, obviously being a problem, particularly in big populated areas such as Ontario. But with the price being significantly higher, and it's right now rated at the the illicit market sits at about 3/4 the price of what the legal market is at. And that price needs to come down. It doesn't need to be an exact number. It doesn't need to be the same price for everything. But when using a vape cartridge for an example, if vapes on the illicit market are in the high 20s to the high 30s, that's the general range you could get a vape cartridge for. It's tough for people to look at the legal market and to accept $45, $55, even as high as $65 or $70 for a vape cartridge and to pay that differential. We're not seeing the uptake there, and we're seeing price compression happening because it has to happen. In order for that black market, which is still huge, for it to go away and transition to legal, prices have to come down. Next slide, Dennis. So here's how we're doing it. Go back, Dennis, back. There you go. Here's how we're doing it. Heritage now with our sales license is able to go direct. Prior to this, we had no choice but to go through another LP who has its sales license, who could take it to the provincial cannabis boards. We'll be moving directly both to the provincial cannabis boards, and we'll be selling directly to medical patients, both directly from our own company as well as on other platforms. There are several medical-based platforms that are available. We'll be talking to all of them about potentially getting our products on their sites. The good news for us is coming inbound, being able to go direct. We purchased biomass for cheaper than we can grow it. There is a lot of biomass. There's a lot of cannabis available on the market. There are a lot of growers, and they just keep adding more and more. We are able to extract, formulate, fill, package, and ship all internally. We don't have to export anything. The only thing that comes externally to us is the buying of that, the biomass cannabis that goes in. It'll go directly to the provincial cannabis boards. That means we don't have to have added margin in between that would come with the person or the companies who are contracting us. What this is going to do is put a little bit of pressure on these groups in between. The LPs who currently aren't doing their own products, brand houses, they call themselves, people who have brands, sales and marketing, but virtually nothing else. And there's other hopefuls that are still waiting in line, hoping to get their their cultivation licenses. There are still hundreds of evidence packages sitting out there, still waiting to come on board. The margin compression will affect them. It's going to affect them a lot, unless their product is differentiated. And that can only come in bringing something to the market that is unusual or different or just straight up better. This is where we think we can play, particularly with our vape pens. Next slide, Dennis. So here's what our next 12 months look like. The sales license. I'm seeing chat happening down below. It keeps popping up here. You guys are distracting me. Our next 12 months, we're going to become a house of brands. We're doing our own brands. That doesn't mean we're going to stop doing it for everybody else. However, we, as a contract manufacturer, will no longer be our prime focus. It'll be our secondary focus. We will be launching our own branded vape lines plural. You'll see 2 different brands happening. You'll be seeing the full spectrum direct-to-vape CO2 vape pen hitting the market this summer. Both brands hitting this summer. There will be 7 different pens hitting it. We'll have news coming up about this in the next little while to keep everybody informed. Additionally, I talked earlier about the New World Oil coming in 2021. This is a passion project for our extraction guys. They were able to do this on their own medical licenses, their own personal licenses very well. I have seen the difference, and I'm positive it's going to be a market favorite when we bring it out. As well, we'll be launching our own branded tinctures. You'll be seeing CBDs, you'll be seeing 2-to-1s, 4-to-1s, all sorts of products being brought to market, as well as a few specific ones that we've developed in-house with our own formulations. We'll be launching our medical products. That means specialty designed products. In particular, targeting ailments. Now, you need to be careful about what you can say and what you can't say about what cannabis can be used for. So you're not going to be seeing these great claims that normally come out, but because Health Canada limits that. However, with our ability to combine cannabinoids, utilizing the endoDNA information and their formulations, that's going to be able to make sense for people on a customized basis. We'll also be, as I talked about before, forming partnerships to make our products available on multiple platforms. In addition, we'll do expansion of products for export. We've done a little bit of export already. We talked about that in a previous news release. It is still a focus. It is something we are actively working on right now. We have a group we're working with that is assisting us in doing this, and we hope to be able to share more information with the entire market and everybody within the next 30 to 60 days. And as I mentioned before, contract manufacturing operations will continue. We will continue to do products on behalf of other LPs and other companies that ask us to do so and are willing to accept the cost of doing it. We just see the market itself and the price compression that's happening going to make that a difficult place to be in the future. Next slide, Dennis. I like this saying because it's pretty appropriate to what we're looking at right now. What we want to do is control our own destiny. And as we're moving forward, by launching our own products, it does allow us to control our own destiny. We're not reliant on customer sales. We're not reliant on their products and their formulations and whether or not the market likes it or wants it. This is stuff that we know that's been tried and tested and proven over the last decade with the guys from Pure Pharma and from Pure Vita. At this point, I do want to thank all the employees and the board of Heritage. It's been a really busy, tough slog for this last year. But I'll tell you, we've moved a long way forward from being able to launch products and doing work on behalf of other companies to ultimately getting our own sales license over the finish line, which took a really long time, way longer than it should have in our opinion, but it takes what it takes for us. So as we're moving forward, my heartfelt thanks, particularly during these COVID days. We have employees who are working, still coming to work, full personal protective gear, staying 6 feet away and making sure that physical distancing is happening inside of our facilities to ensure that we don't have to do a full-scale shutdown. Very meaningful to us, and I thank them all. Dennis, next slide. Okay, there's my presentation. Now I wanted to address a little bit of questions, some Q&A for people who put questions in prior to this. As I mentioned, there were several questions that overlapped, so I'll try to lump them together and address what I can and what I'm able to say versus not say. Just because this is an AGM and you guys got to read the disclaimer still doesn't mean I'm able to say inside information to you and disclose things that aren't public. So I'll do my best when I can. Financial projections. I've been asked a whole lot of questions on this. First and foremost, has COVID affected what it is that we're projecting for our future? Yes, it has, and it's going to affect us all. We have shut down shifts in British Columbia and in Ontario. We went from operating full tilt 2 shifts, 18 hours a day, 5 days a week, to running 1 shift, skeleton staff on both. Voyage is able to do a little bit more as they have a little bit more creativity out there and being able to move people in and out. However, yeah, it has affected us, and it is going to have a short-term effect. But in the end, all it does is delay some of the things that we were working on. In particular, our U.S. expansion. We can't get down there. We can't get product there. we can't order some of the stuff that we need to work on to get up here to Canada. So it's becoming a bit of an issue that way. Overall, it's not something that's going to materially affect us in the long run, but certainly in the short run, it will. We're experiencing, obviously, weaker than expected orders from our customers. A lot of you have noticed one of our major customers who announced their financials here recently, that their revenues were much lower than analysts expected. Their orders are lower than expected. Part of the problem is where their prices are on their products. Their products are fantastic, but the pricing is high. They've acknowledged this. And we're talking about how we can address that and assist them in getting more orders and moving forward. But again, one of the reasons why we want to move forward with our own products, so we only have to rely on ourselves. I keep getting asked, are we going to provide guidance? Can we start telling people what we're going to project for revenue and for earnings? No, that won't happen this year. A few things, that's just not prudent. It's not prudent in COVID days. It's not prudent in the cannabis industry being so young and us not understanding it. And it's not prudent in how we're changing our business. We're doing some major refocusing, and it's refocusing that we're finally able to do, finally able to go into our own products and be able to be our own branded house. Something we've been looking forward to since we started this whole thing 5 years ago, and Graham Staley and PJ Usick and the Pure Pharma team 10 years ago. We're excited about that. We think there'll be a fantastic uptake, but I'm not looking at doing any financial guidance, likely until 2021, when we have better visibility on how the entire world is going to exit COVID, number one. Number two, how our products are going into market and how the uptake is being. Once that's done, happy to answer that, happy to give the guidance. At least I know we can do it with some semblance of certainty and not just feeling our way around in the dark and giving you just an estimate. That to me is irresponsible. It makes your investment decision based on facts that just aren't true. Second question, when will heritage products be available to market? It's going to be a range, but pretty much all 13 of them that we'll be launching that are currently on our slate to be out there will hit the markets this summer. We want them all to be available to be purchased by the end of August at the latest, hopefully early July, the way that things are looking right now. We are in our 60-day waiting period, mandatory waiting period with Health Canada on all the products. We will be adding more products as we go, but all 13 products will be out of their 60-day waiting period into their respective containers, bottles, vapes, whatever they're going to be, and ready to be shipped by the end of August. Third question, I'm going to ask Graham Staley to answer this. The question is, what exactly is full spectrum direct to vape oil? How is this different from distillate and the current vapes that are available on the market? Graham, you want to take yourself off mute and answer this?
Thanks, Clint, and thanks everyone for the interest in this. Yeah, the full spectrum vape technology, it has to do with flavor and viscosity to flow in the pen without adding things to it. The best analogy is I would say that the distillate-based pens would be a developed flavor where we're doing a revealed flavor, the high-proof vodka versus a whiskey or a brandy. And so we don't take those artisanal components that the growers have put into the flower. We leave it all in there through our process and maintain the viscosity to flow in the vape pen versus the distillate, which is very, very thick and requires flavors to flow and for flavor.
Nice. Thanks, Graham. The one particular note that I keep getting pointed out to me when people bring up the want for this direct-to-vape product is with all the noise that happened last year with kids getting sick and dying with the artificial ingredients being added into the vape pens, that of particular note, this is an all-natural product. Cannabis goes in, cannabis oil comes out. There is nothing artificial added to this. This is what we believe is the safest product to be on the market for vaping. Question number 4, people asked about James Wagner, when their vapes are going to be available. Soon, I hope. That's largely up to them. As everyone knows with James Wagner, they got a few things they need to work out internally. They've had a few troubles here, but we're being assured that things are moving forward nicely over there, and they expect to exit CCAA and continue on with their plans. Their vapes, vape oil is ready. It turned out very well. I'm quite positive the market will enjoy it, as they do a great cannabis product going inbound, and that created a great oil product coming out. People talk about our balance sheet. Obviously, that's a concern in COVID days, watching the stock market in March getting absolutely annihilated. Cannabis went down with it, has made somewhat of a recovery, and we're happy to see that. Understanding that we'll go down and hopefully up again in the entire cannabis market, but additionally, we'll also like to do our own thing and start making our own products and doing our own sales. Biggest question is, do we need money? No, we don't. Just checked this morning, our cash in bank is sitting somewhere around $9 million. We still have some credit availability of about $1.6 million. That'll be coming to us shortly. This is a strong balance sheet. We have a committed spend right now. Everyone refers to it as a burn rate, but I hate that term. It's a committed spend. So between our employees and the spend that we have made sure that we do on a monthly basis, comes to about $500,000 a month. So when you're taking a look at that, that's that $500,000 a month. As we make sales and we earn margin, that eats into that $500,000. The committed spend will go up as we start shipping more products, because we need to hire more people to do so, but it doesn't go up on the same rate that our sales and our margin do. So we believe that a break-even point for us in a quarter will be around somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 million in revenue. That'll take us to a cash flow break-even, CapEx aside, and an adjusted EBITDA figure likely slightly positive at that point. So there's our target range at about somewhere 5 should get us close. 6 million is for sure to get us above. And because we don't have agricultural products, i.e. plants, that we have to watch out for being valued a lot less as they become unsellable, we have a bit of an advantage there. Somebody asked a question of, what does success look like in 1 year for Heritage? And you know what, that's a good question. And because of our sales license and the flexibility that this offers, we're finally able to truly answer that with a timeline, the 1 year timeline being key here. What does success look like? We got 13 individual products being added, putting it out this summer. That's 13 branded products under the Heritage, they're not Heritage brands, but under the Heritage, in the Heritage family. And then looking to add 1 new formulation every 2 to 3 months for the remainder of the year. So that'll put us somewhere around 16 to 18 products that Heritage will be offering by this time next year. That'll be on the shelves. And I'm talking, this is Canada alone. There will be different formulations that we'll be looking at in the United States. There will be different formulations we'll be looking at for international. However, both of those are tough to comment on right now, with the exception that, you know, we are still focusing on the United States. The fact we can't get there right now is a bit of a challenge. However, we do and are working with a group that has boots on the ground in the States, and in particular is monitoring the changes that are going on in the macro cannabis industry there. We want to be part of that change when it happens in the US, for when the macro changes. We want to have products that we can get into the majors. Think CVS, Walgreens, companies like that. We have the group that we're working with that is going to be hopefully in on the first wave when that uptake happens. It's something we're interested in, something we're talking about. Would like to see by this time next year, if the United States marketplace opens up, that we're part of that. Additionally, international plays, we've already done the one down into the Caribbean. We are looking at continuing that, along with several more international export potentials worldwide. We have product that we want to put out there. We have something very specific that we want to introduce there. And it comes with some added advantages that give us a bit of a leg up with the group that we're working with down in the States. Some great people down in the US that are really giving us advantage that hopefully we'll be able to introduce that advantage here into Canada shortly in the next few months. And then also as we export product, it does give us an advantage when we're going and bidding against someone else who doesn't have this extra formulation, this extra technology that could be added in. Just so I'm clear here, we have all the tools. Heritage is not lacking of tools. We either have it in-house with our own know-how, or we have it with people we're working with externally. We can be a major player in the Canadian marketplace, and we intend to be. I expect the AGM presentation next year to be talking about all the brands that we're selling, all the internal brands, and in addition, everything else that we're looking on to build on that. I'm talking to you now about changing from being a CMO to being a branded house. Next year, it'll be building on what it is that we've already made. Seventh question surrounded a share rollback. They wanted me to talk about a share rollback. No, we don't. We're not talking about that. The board has been pretty clear that we're not interested in a share rollback at this time. We don't think it'll be advantageous to us. The only way we would look at a share rollback is if there was a specific advantage. As we see most of the time when rollbacks happen, it's negative impact on the stock, and we don't think that's needed. Number one. Number two, we also think that our future earnings are going to be able to show the market that even with the amount of stock we have outstanding, it still gives a decent earnings per share that you can look at and do your multiples on that. And it still gives a very favorable multiple that we can go from there. Final question I got, this is probably the most serious of them all, it was asked how I get my hair looking so good. I'm just gonna give you guys a look here. This is how. So those of you who wanna go to Shoppers Drug Mart and buy some Axe Natural Look, you know who you are. The question was submitted by a guy named Bruce Linton. Pretty sure it wasn't the actual Bruce Linton, but that's the final answer here for the Q&A. That's everything you guys have brought to the table. I thank you for your interest in Heritage. I thank you for supporting us publicly. I've seen snippets. I get text messages from a lot of people. I've seen some of the online chat you guys have. We got some great supporting people here. I think our shareholders absolutely rock. And we're hoping to reward your patience and your loyalty to us here in the next year. I think you'll be happy with what's happening here, in particular over the next 90 to 120 days as our guys from Pure Pharma start to really lay out some of the products and what they're capable of. This is going to be a fun next few months. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you stay safe during this whole COVID time. Thanks.